Yes, said Aragorn, we shall all need the endurance of dwarves. But come, with hope or without hope, we will follow the trail of our enemies, and woe to them if we prove the swifter. We will make such a chase as shall be accounted a marvel among the three kindreds, elves, dwarves, and men. Forth the three hunters.
Welcome to the Wayward Wizards podcast. Today we are reading Book 3, Chapter 1, being the first chapter of the second volume of The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. My name is Zach.
And my name is Logan.
Logan, welcome back.
It's good to be back.
After our little 4-week hiatus.
It's nice to have a rest, but I really missed... I really
My
missed
friend.
our special time. Our special time together, Zach.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I will say that I did not know what to do with myself in the break, and kind of wish that we hadn't taken it, but I think it'll pay dividends later. I'm sure everyone else needed a little break, too. It's a lot of work reading through these.
I think it's good modeling for everybody, that even when you have something that you're excited about, that you're passionate about, sometimes you have to take a rest.
It was good to take a rest, but you know who wouldn't have taken a rest?
Who's that?
The three hunters, Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas.
Of course, you're right. You're right. They're like, well, we're not even there yet, but they are very epic in these two chapters that we're about to... I mean, they have this like superhero thing in chapter 2, right?
Oh, it's coming. Yeah, I cannot wait to talk about chapter 2.
But first, there's like a holistic thing happening here where first they have to take stock of the situation, what's happening.
Right.
They have to like care for their companion,
right,
friend, Boromir. And like they take that responsibility really seriously. They like start this process of grieving. And then and at the same time they're like claimed by this like necessity, right? To like go find Merry and Pippin.
Yeah.
And so there's like a whole vision for like existence.
Yeah.
Like you don't just go tearing off after,
No, take the time.
Well, just let Boromir lie there. You know what I mean?
No, couldn't do it.
No, like you got to stop and like attend to this.
Yeah.
Like it's as important to take care of his remains, his body, as it is to go find Merry and Pippin. Something really profound about that.
Yeah, one thing that we talk about all the time on the pod is that for Tolkien, the ends never justify the means, ever.
Yeah.
Like you never don't do the right thing just because it's hard or it's not beneficial to you.
Right.
Like you always do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's not the most logical thing to do to, you know, bury Boromir or not to, make a boat funerary. I don't know what you would call it.
Right. To like ritualize his death.
And to sing songs and, it seems like it takes them several hours to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're like back and forth, to like figure out where Frodo went. And so,
and that's precious time lost. But okay, so here's another thing and this will come up in the next chapter as well, but if they had caught up with the Uruk-hai, what was their plan?
Yeah, when they finally run into Éomer, and he's sort of like, "What were you guys gonna do when you?"
Yeah, like if you had caught up with them, you would have turned from hunted to prey. Like,
yeah,
like they were completely outnumbered. There's no way they could have defeated them in battle. And like Legolas at one point even says, like, we'll have to contrive some plan for their escape.
Yeah, I think that's in the next chapter.
Like, it's not in the cards for them to defeat them 1-to-1. I mean, you end up like Boromir that way.
But it's not about having the perfect plan. It's about doing the right thing.
That's
right.
it.
Like, and it'll sort of come out in the wash. There's some like faith in providence or something like that. That like,
Yeah, either they'll catch up to them and find a way to get Merry and Pippin out, or they'll die.
yeah, and like if that's the way you die, then you did the right thing. Interesting.
Yeah, there's like a nobility to that choice.
It's not that they're superheroes. I think that like media these days, it's sort of like, well, all our heroes just have superpowers, so you know, they'll just show up and try really, really hard, and it'll, because they try so hard, it will work out.
Right.
But that's not how Tolkien thinks about these things. You know,
No.
like if 3 guys show up against 20 orcs, they're going to get killed.
Yeah.
And even if, you know, one of them is Aragorn. So it's, much more about the kind of existential, what are you staking existentially more than what are you staking like with your life or whatever.
Yeah, it seems like that's really what this chapter is all about. Just like making what at the time seems like disastrous choices. Like Aragorn over and over again is like, every choice that I've made has gone amiss. You know, and this is another kind of chink in the armor of the argument that Tolkien's characters are one-dimensional or that they never grow.
Yeah.
Because Aragorn is just convinced that he's a complete failure, that Gandalf's trust in him was completely misplaced. But he still doesn't give up. Right. That's not an excuse for him to kind of cede his role. He's just going to choose to do the best he can.
I counted the number of times that he, says that he failed. And in this first chapter, it's 4 times, and then it spills over into the next chapter. And so he ends up saying 6 times.
Wow.
I'm a failure. I'm not the right leader. I haven't made good choices. But even though he's made these mistakes, or he feels that he's made, mistakes, he still knows that he just has to kind of pick up, right? Like he's not just, pouting against a tree or whatever. Like
No.
He's got enough hope or duty or whatever to just keep after it.
Yeah, these are people for whom like honor means a lot. And it seems like the most dishonorable thing you could do is just quit.
Yeah.
Whether that means, leaving your companion's body just to be picked apart by animals, or, leaving Merry and Pippin saying like, hey, they don't have the ring. Like our duty is not to them, it's to Frodo.
Yeah.
Their bonds, their oaths were always to help the ring bearer.
Right.
So this is really, we talked about the breaking of the fellowship. That was the name of the last chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Them choosing to follow after Merry and Pippin is also, they're breaking their fellowship. They're doing the thing that they said they wouldn't do. All of them have said, I will not leave Frodo. And that's exactly what they're choosing to do here. But they're realizing that these helpless hobbits need them more than Frodo. So that's like it's like a show of faith in like Frodo's capabilities, I think.
Right. And Aragorn sees the wisdom of Frodo's choice. He sees that Frodo has made a choice for himself and for like the destiny of the ring.
Right.
Or his destiny with the ring. And, and of course Sam is like so indefatigable that he's not going to leave him behind. And so it's like, well, they're fine, like, because he made a choice out of like freedom, agency, confidence, and like really clear sight. Like Frodo has that vision on Amon Hen.
Yeah.
And when Aragorn goes up there, we kind of were told he can't really see anything.
Yeah.
And so I think Aragorn is kind of depending on. I mean, he doesn't know that Frodo had this vision, but there's a way in which Aragorn is kind of depending on Frodo's clarity of like sight as the ring bearer.
Yeah. Like he made his choice, and we weren't part of it.
Yeah, and this other choice has kind of been made for them, for the three hunters, to go rescue Merry and Pippin, who have been kidnapped essentially, and so maybe Aragorn is even kind of relieved, like he doesn't have to choose in this moment. Frodo chose, and his choice is made for him, and so he, they get swept into this other story. I don't know, this is probably too much of an aside, but I love that, like, here we get kind of a piece of the fantasy, something the fantasy genre will kind of pick up, where, even if you start with a company, it starts to like fracture, and then you have like multiple stories happening, right? And I love that we get that in this, in this book. Suddenly we have two
streams,
and then that even gets even more complicated later on. And the fact that Tolkien sticks with this story at the beginning is really interesting, because
if we were telling the story, we'd go straight to Frodo and Sam
again. And like, as we've said in the past, like, the book is called Lord of the Rings. It's about this ring. and Tolkien's like, at the beginning of the second volume, Tolkien's like, all right, later we'll get to it, like, you're confident you're confident that we're going to hear about Frodo and Sam, but that he then focuses on these guys, and this really kind of action oriented chapter, or couple of chapters, is really an interesting choice, I think.
Can we just talk about how exciting it is, like all the things that are coming up?
I'm so excited. This is
we're about to have Treebeard. We're about to have the Riders of Rohan.
Yeah, Helm's Deep. I mean,
and not to mention the return of a certain character who I know we've all missed. You know who I'm talking about.
G for Grand.
And yeah, there's just so much coming up. I mean, I'm excited for, like, the Battle of Pelennor Fields is coming up next book. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but
yeah, dude.
Like, I was just thinking about it. I was like, Shelob's Lair is coming up. The Choices of Master Samwise. We're about to meet Gollum in this book.
I was just thinking that this morning, that, gosh, we haven't even really, we've only seen like glimpses of him, and we finally get to like hear him and start to get to know him.
All sides of him. Yeah, but I love Fellowship of the Ring, but I had kind of forgotten, like, my heart started pounding today when I was like getting ready for this pod, because I'm like, there is so much that is about to happen, and I cannot wait to talk about Treebeard. Cannot wait to, like, talk about, like, Saruman and, like, the Uruk-hai, and like all this is coming up. So
yeah, totally.
And this is a little bit of like, and this might be a good way to kind of jump into the text here, but this chapter is very short, and it's a kind of just like an introduction back to the action. It's such a strange place to stop the story of Fellowship. Like, can you imagine reading this, like, when you had to wait a few months for the book to come out?
It is weird.
Like, it just ends with Frodo and Sam leaving. You don't have any idea what happened to Boromir yet. So it's strange to kind of start kind of like in the middle of things, like we don't get like kind of a neatly tied knot at the end of last chapter or at the end of last book.
The publication history is interesting because there was that gap, right, between the two volumes.
It was a short gap by today's standards. I mean,
right.
It's not, we're waiting 13 years for, Dream of Spring to come out. It's not nothing like that. I mean, it's just several months. But
I still think, there's a way in which, like, this book predates it's not a product. You know what I mean? It's not, publishing was different enough then that it's not like he was on some kind of like content schedule or something. He really, as we know, thought of Lord of the Rings as one book in 3
Absolutely.
volumes.
Absolutely.
And or one work in 6 books or whatever. And so to end where he did is a little less strange. And it really picks up, I mean, the first sentence of this chapter is Aragorn sped on up the hill. So we pick up where Sam left Aragorn. When Sam has that thought like, well, I can't keep up with Aragorn, so I need to use my, use your, what does he say, noggin, Samwise or something like that.
Yeah, since you can't keep up with your legs, use your brain.
Yeah, exactly. But we pick up right here with, like, back up to Aragorn. What's he doing? And gosh, this first section before the little break at the end of the page, at least in my volume, we get so much interiority from Aragorn and his thoughts and his hesitations, and he says, like, it says that he goes to the high seat himself, hoping to see there something that would guide him in his perplexities. What a great turn of phrase. It says, the sun seemed darkened and the world dim and remote. Again, and we've seen this a few times, even going back to like the Shire, where the external world sort of reflects something internal about what the characters are going through.
Right.
And so, so Aragorn, still has this sort of clouded vision compared, and then you compare that to Frodo, whose vision was so clear and he could like see far off and, even be sort of like perceived by Gandalf wherever he is, in some spiritual realm or whatever, and Sauron. But we do get the vision of that eagle again.
Yeah, here comes the eagle. So
I
remember, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, I don't know if we actually talked about the eagle. We've seen it a few times, going back into the last book, and then it shows up a couple times here.
Yeah, we did talk about it.
What's going on there?
Do you remember we kind of speculated on whether it might have been a Black Rider, and then we decided that the text didn't really support that because Legolas is able to see that it's an eagle, and says it's an eagle like far away from its Ares, and so this is definitely another introduction to it. It's definitely an eagle, and eagles are, sort of famously, they're their own people. They're very powerful. They're not just birds. And they're not tools. You can't just call on the eagles to do whatever you want them to do. But people who are close to the eagles, like the wizards, can use them as help if the eagles agree to do it. But they're also like in with the Valar.
Yeah, it's the presence of, it strikes me as, I don't know, it's like a reminder or something, the presence of like a greater force or events, it like ties faraway events to what's happening here or something. There's there's like an observer.
So this opening bit, Aragorn, he goes to the same seat that Frodo was at, and he's like, yeah, okay, I read the signs right. Even though it mentions like how difficult it is for him to follow Frodo's tracks, like they're not easy to find.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, Frodo was here. Let me sit here and see if I see something. And he doesn't. It's almost like the Valar trust him to make the right choice without some sort of intervention. Like he doesn't need, like he makes the right choice, even though he feels like all of his choices are going the wrong way. He does ultimately make the right and noble choice. And what we find out is that if he hadn't made the exact choices that he made, everything would have really been disastrous. Like he feels like his choices are disastrous, but he's making the exact right choice.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
If he hadn't decided to chase after Merry and Pippin, wouldn't be reintroduced into the story. And like, if Merry and Pippin aren't here, the whole thing falls apart. Like Gandalf was right to choose Merry and Pippin to join the quest because they play an integral role if Pippin doesn't get hold of that Palantir, that's a pebble that starts an avalanche that leads to Aragorn revealing himself to Sauron, which leads to them be able to make their kind of final march and take Sauron's eye away from Frodo. If Merry isn't saved, then he doesn't get that barrow blade back, and he doesn't stab the Witch King of Angmar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they don't make this choice, they don't reconnect back with Gandalf. Helm's Deep doesn't happen. Like, this is the exact right choice, but they're making the choice like fully believing that they're going to die.
Yeah.
It's like a suicide mission.
I'm just so excited. Merry and Pippin are the best. I mean, they're just the best. They have so many great, especially in this book, they have so many great moments.
Yeah.
With Treebeard, and
they've been like side characters up to this point. They've not really had like front and center.
Right. They like literally grow in this book, right?
Literally.
And they grow in stature and in confidence and, into their own kind of selves. And so I'm so excited about that, and also, reflecting on what you just said, that you can make the right choice even when you feel like it's impossible. Or even when you can't see, really anything about how those choices might affect you or people around you. And you don't need to be given, some special vision by whatever, Eru.
Yeah.
And that's just the first, 4 paragraphs in the chapter.
Well, I'll admit that I've been dragging my feet because I don't want to start talking about Boromir's death. Let's talk about Boromir.
Aragorn hears the horn of Boromir, and ill fate is on me this day, and all that I do goes amiss. But eventually he does find Boromir.
Says he was pierced with many black feathered arrows. His sword was still in his hand, but it was broken near the hilt. His horn cloven in two was at his side. Many orcs lay slain, piled all about him and at his feet. And then Boromir, makes his kind of final confession to Aragorn.
Aragorn as priest.
Yeah. And he takes his confession. He says, I tried to take the ring from Frodo. I'm sorry. I have paid.
The way Tolkien writes this prose is so effective. I am sorry. I have paid. They have gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are not dead. Orcs bound them. And then he, claims that he's failed. But, Aragorn says no. And he kisses him. You have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. So this is repentance, sacrifice, self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
And Aragorn, gives him what's the word?
Absolution?
Absolution, yeah. Be at peace.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like a word of assurance.
Boromir dies with a smile on his face. Boromir smiled, and then Aragorn keeps trying to talk to him, but Boromir doesn't speak again. So somehow Boromir is able to accept, what Aragorn gives him.
Yeah.
And such a tender moment.
Especially since, given the kind of the violence that Boromir showed in the last chapter, we both talked about just how unsettling it is to hear Boromir say, I'm stronger than you.
Yeah.
You can say that I overpowered you because I can.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about how he is going to take the ring and he's going to have power of command and he's going to defeat Sauron and call armies to himself and become a king. And here, now that he's back to himself after this moment of sacrifice and repentance, he says to Aragorn, go to Minas Tirith. He says, save my people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's no longer like he realizes now, and it's because he's realizing that he's dying. You know, he's only able to get a few words out at a time. That switch from I will save my people to Aragorn, you will save my people.
Yeah.
Like that's a really beautiful moment of redemption for this character.
So Gimli and Legolas come upon Aragorn, and they quickly understand what's happened.
In fact, they say to Aragorn, like, are you hurt? Like,
because he's got blood all over him, right?
Well, and there's 20 orcs laying all around, and Boromir's dead. And so I think they assume that Aragorn was there with Boromir fighting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because they heard the horn and they ran back.
I guess that also shows. Yeah, I guess that also shows how many orcs are there.
Yeah.
Right, that they would be like, well, certainly Boromir didn't kill all these orcs himself.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it in terms of it being very similar to Gandalf. Gandalf's sacrifice.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Going up against 20 orcs with bows and arrows, you're not going to live. No. But he still did it just to try and make enough time for the others to come and try and help Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, exactly.
Boromir dies with a smile on his face, which is such a beautiful image.
Mm-hmm.
With his broken sword in his hand, and his king kissing his brow.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And his king saying, you have conquered if you have gained such a victory.
Yeah.
Having unburdened himself from this sin that he committed, this breaking of his oath. And Aragorn says, were Sam and Frodo with them? But it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
And so he says, alas, thus passes the heir of Denethor, Lord of the Tower of the Guard. This is a bitter end. Now the company is all in ruin. It is I that have failed. Vain was Gandalf's trust in me. What shall I do now? This is rock bottom for Aragorn.
Yep.
And he doesn't know what's happened to Sam and Frodo. And so the others ask him, hey, what happened? He's like, I don't know yet. He says, we do not know whether the ring bearer is with them or not. Are we to abandon him? Must we not seek him first? An evil choice is now before us. And so they have to decide what to do with Boromir's body. Legolas is like, look, we have to make a choice.
Right. I love that Legolas says, then let us do first what we must do. So then they discuss, what to do with Boromir's body, as we talked about already a little bit. Gimli says, we can't build a cairn here. We need to figure out a way to do this in a way that makes sense for the time.
And a cairn is like a pile of stones, right?
Yeah. And so
imagine how long that would take.
Yeah. It's we're going to bring stones from the river or whatever. But that line, let us do first what we must do.
Yeah.
It's not prescribed what they must do, but they have to do something and they have to choose quickly.
So Aragorn makes the decision. He's like, let us lay him in a boat with his weapons and the weapons of his vanquished foes. We will send him to the falls of Rauros and give him to Anduin. The river of Gondor will take care at least that no evil creature dishonors his bones. They search the bodies of the orcs. They gather their swords and shields and helms, and they put them in a heap. And Aragorn says, here we find tokens. He picked out from the pile of grim weapons 2 knives, leaf-bladed, damasked in gold and red. And searching further, he found also the sheaths, black, set with small red gems. No orc tools, these. This is the work of Westerness, wound about with spells for the bane of Mordor. Well now, if they still live, our friends are weaponless. I will take these things, hoping against hope, to give them back. And so it's almost like we get this little wink. It's like, hey, these things are bound with spells against Mordor. Take a note. These might be important in the future. But hope against hope might be the name of this chapter.
Yeah, I think so too. That's a really good point.
And this is also when we're kind of introduced to the schism between the orcs of Sauron and the orcs of Sauron.
Yeah.
They find these strange markings of this white hand.
Yeah, a small white hand in the center of a black field upon the shields. And then on the front of their iron helms was set an S rune. So they also have an S on their forehead.
Mm-hmm.
What an egomaniac.
I know. See, but it's interesting because Gimli's like, you know, Aragorn's like, what does this mean? And Gimli's like, well, I mean, this is easy. S for Sauron, right? Nay, said Legolas, Sauron does not use the elf runes. So, and then Aragorn says, neither does he use his right name nor permit it to be spelt or spoken, and he uses the sign of the red eye. So he realizes S is for Sauron. And, you know, I mean, they knew that Sauron was a traitor. I don't think they knew at this point that he was like breeding an army of special orcs that can run in the sunlight.
No, they don't know how deep it goes yet. Because it's one thing to just sort of be duplicitous and you know, try to waylay Gandalf, and it's another to like
Be building an army of,
yeah, breed your own army of like genetically whatever, like spliced orcs,
half human, half orcs. Yeah.
Right.
But he's like basically like, yeah, Sauron knows where we are. Like, remember the birds? I mean, so here's the birds coming back again. I mean,
right.
But they have all these riddles, and Gimli here says something really profound. He says, you know, we don't have any more time. We have to bear Boromir away. And then he says, maybe there is no right choice. And it's just like, we just have to make the best choice that we can.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it comes up again and again in this chapter.
But they go to kind of make this like boat funeral, and that's when they find that there's only 2 boats left. And that, you know, it wasn't the orcs that took a boat because they didn't smash everything up. Like all of their packs and stuff are left undisturbed. And they see that Sam's pack is gone. And the way that they know...
It's the heaviest. Oh, Sam.
What a good guy.
What does Aragorn say? Oh, yeah, here it is. 2 packs are missing, and one is certainly Sam's. It was rather large and heavy. What a sweet boy.
He's a good boy.
Gimli can't understand. Why would they leave us behind without a word? But Aragorn says it was not just a strange deed, it was a brave deed. And then he realizes that Sam was right. Frodo did not wish to lead any friend to death.
His funeral is so beautiful. They lay him in this boat, one of the 2 remaining boats, and they pile the kind of trophies of his last battle around him and place the broken sword and the broken horn in this boat. And then they set him down the river, down Ralros. And Tolkien says here, Ralros roared unchanging. The river had taken Boromir, son of Denethor, and he was not seen again in Minas Tirith, standing as he used to stand upon the White Tower in the morning. But in Gondor in the after days, it was long said that the elven boat rode the falls and the foaming pool, and bore him down through Osgiliath, and past the many mouths of Anduin, out into the great sea at night under the stars. So these boats that the elves give them bear him all the way to the sea, even past this enormous waterfall.
Isn't that interesting that Tolkien sort of gives us a spoiler there?
Yeah, like breaks.
I mean, this is why I don't believe in spoilers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, we all know like where this book is going, I guess.
Sure.
But
this is a type of book that has a happy ending.
But I still think, I mean, right here in Gondor in After Days, it long was said, which means
so
that for a long time, people sang songs about Boromir and you know, his sacrifice and his journey, you know, through the lands of Gondor to the sea after he died. And it's like,
yeah,
Sauron's not going to win this contest.
This is the type of story that has a happy ending. Like, you know, people deserve happy endings, Tolkien thought.
And here we are, we're not even halfway through the book.
No.
And Tolkien's like, guys, yeah, wink, you know, but like you still enjoy the story just as much.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, there's a similar aside coming up in the Treebeard chapters when it's like, oh, and Pippin would gather people around his knee in his later years and tell them all about his buddy Treebeard. And, it's like, okay, all right, so Pippin's not going to die. Okay, we have like a little signal there. All right, we know that.
Right.
I wanted to talk about this line, Rauros roared on, unchanging.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, the natural world didn't even seem to take note that this great man had died.
Yeah.
Time just moves differently for the river.
Yeah.
It's not the same river that was when Boromir was just killed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's constantly changing, but it's also timeless. Like it's going to be here, long past Gondor, long past the changing politics of this world. But it's also, if Sauron becomes Lord of Middle Earth, like he wants to be and claims to be, then that river will be despoiled. And so I think it's an interesting kind of reflection on time and the natural world. Rauros roared on, unchanging. That's such a beautiful turn of phrase as well.
And we're about to get a big dose of that with Treebeard too, obviously. It's sort of like not an eternal being, but a being of kind of incomprehensible.
Age. Yeah. So as is typical of this company, they stopped on the way from Moria to go check out a little pool and sang a little song. And then they stopped. Now they're being like, their friends are being like taken mile after mile away as they take hours to, properly bury Boromir. And they take time to sing a little song. It's throwing back to Nimrodel a little bit, like it's giving a little bit of like, hey, the orcs are coming, but strap in, folks, because I'm about to sing the longest song you ever heard.
We're saved from any singing from Gimli.
You left the east wind to me.
But I will say not of it.
So they sing about the south, they sing about the north, and they sing about the west. I just want to read one line here. I know that the songs can be so tedious, but I think this is a really beautiful piece of poetry. What news from the west, O wandering wind, do you bring me tonight? Have you seen Boromir the tall by moon or by starlight? O Boromir, from the high walls westward, I looked afar, but you came not from the empty lands where no men are.
It's beautiful.
This line here, I think, is important. After Gimli says, like, hey, you left the east wind to me, and Aragorn's like, hey, no, they don't sing to the east wind. I guess because Mordor's over there. Like any wind that comes from Mordor, you don't want to hear news.
Right. It's kind of a tradition. Interesting.
But Aragorn says, but now Boromir has taken his road, and we must make haste to choose our own. And that's when they begin to kind of survey the boat landing area. And he says, there are some clear prints here. A hobbit waded out into the water and back, but I cannot say how long ago. Aragorn
kind of goes into tracker mode here, Strider mode.
Absolutely.
And really like becomes himself in a way. He had that moment where in the boats where everyone sort of perceives him as king.
Yeah.
But he's not really there yet. He hasn't like fully transformed or transmogrified or metamorphosed or whatever. But he can do, and this has done for, decades and decades. And so when he like locks in to Ranger mode, it's really compelling because it's like this like full exercise of his competence as a tracker and as a scout. And it gets pretty exciting, I think, him reading these signs. And
I have in my like notes here Sherlock Holmes. He kind of like almost like goes into this like forensic detective deduction mode where he's like, this sign points to this occurrence, and it's very logical. And he's able to basically arrive at the exact scenario. See, like, remember, up to this point, they don't know if Frodo and Sam have been taken by the Uruk-hai as well. So
Right.
that almost like makes their choice to bury Boromir all the more illogical by, our kind of modern standards. Like if
Hmm.
they think that the ring is being taken to Mordor by these super orcs and they're choosing to spend a couple hours taking care of Boromir's body, this is when they really find out, like, no, okay. Frodo decided to leave on his own. Sam ran after him. Frodo allowed Sam to go with him.
Right.
It says, Frodo has gone by boat, and his servant has gone with him. Frodo must have returned while we were all away. I met Sam going up the hill and told him to follow me, but plainly he did not do so. He guessed his master's mind and came back here before Frodo had gone. He did not find it easy to leave Sam behind. And this is interesting that Aragorn chooses, and this is a question that I had for you. I don't know if you know the answer. Who in the company knows that Boromir tried to take the ring from Frodo?
Just Frodo and Aragorn.
Does Frodo tell Sam?
I don't know. I mean, I know it's for sure Frodo and Aragorn. I think it's fascinating that it says the last words of Boromir, Aragorn long kept secret.
Aragorn says, something happened after he left us that overcame his fear and doubt. And Legolas responds, like, maybe hunting orcs came on him and he fled. But then Aragorn is like, yeah, he fled, certainly. But I think not from orcs. So he doesn't come out and say, like, Boromir confessed to me on his deathbed that he tried to take the ring from Frodo.
I think the fact that Aragorn keeps it secret underlines the, interaction before Boromir dies as a confession.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Aragorn has
almost like a priestly responsibility to keep confidence.
Like a trust or a fiduciary responsibility or something to like keep it confident. Aragorn is so many things. As like the king, he's sovereign to his people. He's also like the priest to his people. He's the healer of the people. He's the warrior for the people. He's all these things, and he is that for Boromir in this moment. And you wonder who, if anyone, did he tell in the long run?
We'll have to kind of take note of that. Like, it's in the book, and Aragorn didn't write the book. Frodo wrote the book. Sam wrote the book. Merry and Pippin helped write the book.
Yeah, interesting.
So I think like it's kind of like if we're looking at it from like within the story, the kind of like narrative history that Tolkien is laying out, I think it's likely that maybe it's like after the ring is destroyed, like when they sing the songs of like, everything that happened, maybe that's the moment when kind of like all secrets are brought forward and there's no, like the story is told in full. But yeah, I think in this moment, Aragorn chooses to kind of protect Boromir's memory and his reputation with Gimli and Legolas. Kind of wrapping things up here, we come to the choice. So as I see it, now they have to decide, do we follow our oath to help Frodo by chasing after him and Sam? And, I think that they could catch up to Frodo and Sam
pretty easily.
They have another boat. They have another boat. They could cross over to the other way. Aragorn can pick up their tracks. And, if Gollum can catch them, Aragorn could catch them. Their other choice is to sort of like vainly run after these orcs who have hours of a head start, to try and catch up with them and try in some way to contrive a plan to let Merry and Pippin escape, or to fight them and, all five of them die. And they choose that sort of suicidal choice of running after Merry and Pippin. Gimli says, our choice then is either to take the remaining boat and follow Frodo, or else to follow the orcs on foot. There's little hope either way. We have already lost precious hours. And Aragorn responds, and now may I make a right choice and change the evil fate of this unhappy day. I will follow the orcs. I would have guided Frodo to Mordor and gone with him to the end, but if I seek him now in the wilderness, I must abandon the captives to torment and death. My heart speaks clearly at last. The fate of the bearer is in my hands no longer. The company has played its part. Yet we that remain cannot forsake our companions while we have strength left. Come, we will go now. Leave all that can be spared behind. We will press on by day and dark.
After several chapters worth of uncertainty, he finally feels certain in a choice. There's some freedom in that.
Absolutely.
And it's a real act of trust, faith, confidence in Frodo and Sam in this moment.
Absolutely.
That these guys can fend for themselves in a way that's kind of unexpected, right, for hobbits, or that most people wouldn't expect from hobbits.
Sauron sure wouldn't expect it. Saruman wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, but that's the genius of Gandalf in a way, and I think that plays throughout the entire book. And Aragorn has so much confidence in Gandalf's wisdom that I think in this moment it makes a lot of sense, given that Frodo and Sam are free and Merry and Pippin are not, to follow after Merry and Pippin and to find them. But even that quest ends up being different than they expect, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
After they choose, the action is really decisive.
I wanted to ask you this question. I know this is kind of a serious moment, but maybe just to break the tension a little bit.
Yeah.
So it says here, they drew up the last boat and carried it to the trees. They laid beneath it such of their goods as they did not need and could not carry away. Then they left Parthgalen. Is Gimli leaving that book behind? Or is he keeping that book in his backpack?
Let me look at the text again real quick here. Such of their goods as they did not need and could not carry away. So he doesn't need that book. So you would leave it. But he could carry it away.
Yes, he could.
I guess it depends how much other stuff he has in his own pack, I mean, I'm assuming this is a pretty big book, but it's not like it's made
in
of
my
rocks.
mind, so part of me wants to believe that Gimli just carries this enormous book, like all the way to like the last battle in front of the gates of Mordor. Like, I just want to believe he has it with him at Helm's Deep, that he has it with him like in the Paths of the Dead. I want to believe it. But I've been on a lot of hikes, okay?
Yeah, I know.
And I have left lots of things on the side of the trail because I was like, why the heck did I think that I was going to have time to read a book? Or why the heck did I think that I would want to change of pants? Like, any weight you're shedding after a long hike like this.
But you're not a dwarf. And
no, I'm not.
I think dwarves are the kind of people who, when they come across lore from their, from their ancestors and the heroes of their world, they hang on to it. So I do want to believe, I believe that he has it with him.
Especially if your theory that he keeps the Lady Galadriel's hairs in the in the leaves of the book, then I mean he's definitely taking those 3 hairs with him anywhere he goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little freak, sniffing them at night before he goes to bed.
Yeah, I want to believe that he keeps the book with him, and I kind of love the image, of Gimli at the Battle of Pelennor Fields with an axe in one hand and a book in the other. Mm-hmm. Or it's like strapped across his chest or something like that. Like, that would be so
It's at
cool.
the bottom of his pack, man.
Yeah, I think it's cool if he has it with him.
Okay, with that aside, behind us, they start following after the trail of the orcs who hack and slash everywhere they go, trampling everything with their hated feet. And they go swiftly, and they do not tire. But Gimli's like, dwarves too can go swiftly, and they do not tire sooner than orcs. But it will be a long chase. They have a long start. And that's where we get to the selection that we began our reading with today.
Epic.
We will make such a chase as shall be accounted a marvel among the three kindreds, elves, dwarves, and men. Forth, the three hunters, and then like a deer, he springs away.
Gray shadows in a stony land. Awesome. Epic. Amazing.
Great chapter, short chapter.
Yep.
And we are back, baby.
We're back. Wah, 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 wah. Fatty Bulger.
Fatty Bulger, baby. Boop, 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 boop. Thank you so much for reading along with us as we read The Departure of Boromir. Be sure and join us next week when we read Book 3, Chapter 2, The Riders of Rohan. I am pumped. This chapter is so cool. I'm so excited. Be sure and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And be sure and leave us a review and a rating that helps people find the podcast. If you'd like more information, you can always go to waywardwizards.com. And if you have something you'd like to say to us, you can email us at info@waywardwizards.com. Be sure and follow us on YouTube and share the podcast with Lord of the Rings fan in your life. But until next week, remember, with hope or without hope, we follow the trail of our enemies, and woe to them if we prove the swifter. We'll see you next week.
See ya.